So let me ask, Glenn, how are teachers being evaluated in Oregon now?
Well, in Portland, we have come together with our administration and put together a team of 5 administrators and 5 teacher union leaders that developed a new tool. So it used to be pretty arbitrary. It was if the principal liked you, you got commendable. If they thought you were okay, it was for 25 years, it was not a good evaluation tool. So we have actually spent, we're going into our 2nd year tweaking our new evaluation tool, which is basically the idea is to improve the professional practice. There are many different markers to this evaluation tool. Everything from making the curriculum more, how they can tie it into real life, or the inspiration, or there are a number of things that you are measured on, but part of it is it's not an I gotcha. The idea is that you work with your administrator to say, these are the areas that I know that I need to work on. And all of us know what our strengths and weaknesses are, but the idea is that you go in and you say, these are the areas that I need to work on, and I need you to help. You're going to evaluate me and support me and help me get better in these areas. And if the principal says, okay, that's great, but I want you to work on this one too because they see something else that you don't, that's fine. But it's really about the improvement. So that is a huge change than what we've had in the past. And the whole, and if people aren't doing what they need to do, there's a different process for that. That's when a principal can put you on a plan of assistance, and sometimes you exit out of the system. But really, the evaluation tool is about making teachers better and giving them the tools to do so.
And so this value-added model that we had at Fillmore High is not in practice.
Oh boy. So as the union, I would say that it is not. The Race to the Top grant, the initial one that came to Oregon, it was about that. It was about student test scores, value added. It was really ugly, and we said, no way.
And so Race to the Top, just to clarify, was passed by the Obama administration, right? It was, in a way, a response to No Child Left Behind. Is that fair to say?
It's a competitive grant.
What it does, or so do you want to?
Well, it was a waiver. So if schools, because so many schools were failing under No Child Left Behind, the Obama administration, correct me if I get any of this wrong, it came in and said, well, okay, you can have a waiver, but the waiver comes with strings. So the strings, and a lot of them had to do with this value-added measurement. And value-added is a growth model, and it's all done. And people think, well, on the surface, it's just like you said, the teacher should show growth. And everybody says, well, of course. But the way that the growth is measured is there's a random number. That's set by somebody, some software program miles away that says you should grow from this number to this number by people who've never met your students, never. And so often teachers who have high-performing students already are at the mark, so they don't grow. Or people who have very low-performing students who, for various reasons, don't grow. So the value addeds have been wildly different for various. A teacher can be super teacher one year and super crappy teacher another year. So but this has been happening across the country. So wisely, the Portland Alliance of Teachers said we can't do this, and they got a lot of grief for that. But nobody really understood, I think, what value added is. It's not a true measure of improvement.
I was just going to say the second part of that is that there was a district grant that we could have applied for Race to the Top. And there were areas, because we're so cash strapped, there are areas that we were thinking, okay, we could use this. So our kindergarten through 3rd grade we could work on reading endorsement. So our kids, we could really concentrate on reading with these kids. And so we knew what we'd use the money for, but the strings, there were a number of strings. The one that we really had the hardest time with was the testing component once again. And part of it is we know as teachers that if that is in there, teachers can do that. They can make the growth. But all they're going to be doing is teaching to a test. And we wanted so much more for our kids. And so we said we can't go there, but we should submit the application anyway because we need the money. And they wouldn't do it. So.
With a statement and a question, if you don't mind answering it. So one, there's the NCLB waiver, which the state of Oregon did go after, and that did have strings attached to it to have, testing be a part of the evaluations. But we just, obviously, it seems like it's going to vary from district to district, so I wonder if you can answer that. But then the race to the top, just so people understand that when the Portland teachers didn't go after that, there were even students that were protesting. Because there was an organization that came out and said, how dare the teachers not go after this money? Students were protesting. Parents were upset because we've seen what actually happens with our students. We see, worksheet after worksheet, when instead, those teachers that dare to defy the system, it's like, we want to see more of those teachers, but I think it's getting harder. It just seems like there's more pressures for them. So the question, I wasn't sure. So one of the things that we've wondered about was that the waiver seems like it's sort of conditional based on districts being able to adopt these new models of evaluation based on test scores. And
it's still in the works, I can say. I have to say that what we have had forever in our contract is that with standardized student test scores, is that what it says is that that those test scores can inform instruction. And if the teachers at that point can modify their instruction so you see where kids are, and part of that can be used on evaluation. I don't know if that totally makes sense, but the idea is that you're really using not the test score to look at the teacher, but how they're adapting their teaching styles to make sure kids are learning. That's the part that we feel could be and should be in an evaluation.